Urban Decay has been an iconic beauty brand for many, many years. It peaked, I would say, somewhere between 2010 to 2016 with the naked palette genre. I know everyone watching this has had at least one naked palette in their collection. It's probably sitting somewhere in your house still to this day. But what has happened to the brand since then? It was so iconic, and I feel like in recent years, it's just fallen flat. It makes me really sad because I love this brand so much. So I am doing a series on my channel talking about various brands and their iconic moments, telling their stories, but also dissecting it to see what happened along the way to have it fall away from its iconic status. So today's video is all about Urban Decay, and at the end of the video, I'm going to actually present to you a full collection of what I think that they should launch to get back to their iconic status, and then you all can give me feedback and tell me what you would do for the brand and if you agree with what I present or not. In the early 2000s, Urban Decay was the quintessential edgy girl brand. That's what it made it stand out from all of the other brands. It had this edgy vibe. It had really colorful palettes with names like Roach, Oil Slick, and Acid Rain. Urban Decay stood out as being something completely different than what was on the market at that time. It had this artistic vibe that really stood out among a sea of all these safe brands. So Urban Decay was originally dreamed up in 1995 by two friends. Their names were Sandy Lerner and Pat Holmes. Sandy was the more edgy one. She considered herself an aging punk, so she liked to wear kind of grungy colors and things that were a little bit out of the norm, and Patty was kind of the more subdued one. Well, Sandy was trying to encourage Pat to wear this kind of dark, edgy nail polish to an event that they were going to. The color she was looking for really didn't exist at the time, so she took two colors, took a black nail polish and a raspberry pink one, and kind of mixed them together, and it came up with this really grungy kind of deep dark purple shade that became a really fun color that they fell in love with. And so that's kind of what started the whole brand. A lot of people don't know this, is Urban Decay actually started with nail polishes, not makeup, and definitely not eyeshadow. So the brand then started by selling 12 nail polishes, and then they also started including lipstick. So they had 10 lipstick, and that was the start of their brand. And because Sandy loved this kind of edgy vibe, she wanted all of the packaging to be kind of gritty. So when you look at the original logo of Urban Decay, it was very like kind of hand-drawn, like hand-painted. It was kind of edgy, and it was so different at this time because back then in the 90s, everything was very safe and kind of bland. There wasn't really anything edgy at that time. So that's what made Urban Decay really stand out, was that kind of was really the packaging, that edgy vibe that it put out. So after these lipsticks and nail polishes launched, it became such a cult favorite because everyone who wanted to feel kind of like an edgy rock star loved this packaging, loved the kind of deep dark colors that they had, and so it became an instant hit, and almost immediately it drew the attention of investors. From 2000 to 2012, Urban Decay had changed hands multiple times with multiple different investors before it landed with its final and current owner, which is L'Oreal. L'Oreal owns Urban Decay. They have since, I believe, 2012. Even at the start of my YouTube career here on 2008, I know it was a long time ago, Urban Decay was a brand I used all the time. Do you guys remember those iconic shadow boxes? If anyone here is old enough to remember, they had the coolest colorful eyeshadow palettes, and on the top it had this origami type things that would fold out. They had the coolest packaging. All of the other brands at that time had something very safe, kind of boring, but Urban Decay really took off and gained its cult following because they had colorful palettes, the shadows were pretty good quality, and the packaging was out of this world. I still to this day, I wish I kept it, you all. I remember at that time everyone would freak out when they came out with a new palette. We'd rush to Sephora and go grab it, and that was the start of my love for that brand, was those colorful shadow boxes and the really fun packaging. So the peak of Urban Decay had happened around 2010, and this is when they launched their iconic naked palettes, because Urban Decay from the 90s up until 2010 was this very edgy vibe with dark lipsticks and dark nail polishes and then bright eyeshadow colors with these really edgy names like Smog, Roach, I forget some of the other names, but they were edgy names. It was supposed to be this very edgy brand. So when they did this complete flip in 2012 and had their naked palette, which was all neutrals, a little bit more streamlined packaging, kind of shocking with what Urban Decay was known for, but because the eyeshadows at that time were such great quality, there was a great selection of colors, and the packaging was really cool. They had the velvet. You guys remember that velvet packaging on some of their the naked palettes? Urban Decay, I think that's what made them stand out, honestly, above all the brands. It wasn't just their good formulas, it was their packaging. They've always done packaging incredibly well and so different from anything else on the market. So obviously these naked palettes were a massive success. So after they launched the first one, then they came out with the Naked Palette 2, then Naked Palette 3, and those did really well. So they're like, well, this is selling really well. We're just going to keep going with the naked themes. So now we're going to do Naked Smoky Palette, Naked Ultimate Basics, Naked Heat, Naked Cherry, Naked Reloaded. You guys, there have been been so many naked palettes that have come out because they saw what was successful. And usually this is what happens when big corporations buy indie brands. They do what makes them money. And the naked palettes turned Urban Decay into this massive money-making machine. So they're like, well, we're just going to keep riding this out. We're going to come out with all these variations of the same palette. And if I'm going to be honest and blunt right now, I really think that was part of the demise of Urban Decay, was the fact that they just started churning out the same palette over and over again. Like, don't get me wrong, I love Urban Decay. I've used them since the beginning of my career on YouTube. I'm such a huge fan, but after like the 8th version of the naked palette, I was like, please make it stop. Make it stop. We don't need any more naked palettes. We're tired. We are tired of the same format of those 12 pans and the skinny rectangular. We are tired. Please come out with something new. So by 2016 or so, I feel like that's when Urban Decay just fell off a cliff. That's when people stopped caring about the brand because they're like, look, the things that made Urban Decay so iconic in the beginning, the gritty packaging, the urban colors, the bright colors, all of those things that really made it stand out on its own, it just disappeared. Now we have all of these variations of neutral palettes. Everyone has neutral palettes. So that's kind of what I feel like was the turning point for this brand, is it lost its edge. It lost its identity of what it originally started with when Sandy and Patty first created this brand. It lost that vision that a founder had. And this is what I see so often, you all, is when corporation comes in and buys a brand, usually the owner takes a back seat. Maybe they're just the creative director, or maybe they're not part of it all. They just get bought out and they leave. This big conglomerate corporation that comes in and they just start churning out whatever they can to make money. That's their ultimate goal. It's not to create something new, innovative. It's like, what is going to make us the most money that we can churn out the fastest and keep this money machine rolling. So within that, launching all these naked palettes, it just became kind of lost in the sea of other brands, because so many brands by this time had already come in, had done more innovative things. They had multi-chromes and cool formulas and unique things going on, where Urban Decay kind of fell behind because instead of trying to be innovative, they were just churning out the same thing over and over with those naked palettes. So that takes us to today. What can Urban Decay do now to get back to its iconic status and be that well-loved brand that we've all come to know and love? So I have some ideas to present to you all. You may not know that for the last 15 plus years, I've been a product developer. I've worked with almost all of the major labs that exist out there, and I've been contracted from several large brands to do advising to them. I don't talk about that publicly because I have NDAs to sign, but this is what makes my soul happy. I love product development. So I'm excited to put this collection together and show you and see what you think. So what I propose that Urban Decay does is come out a collection and have an eyeshadow palette, but have it be fun, multi-chromes, duochromes, things that indie brands are doing really well right now. No mainstream brand right now is taking the multi-chromes that everyone loves and doing it really well. So I think Urban Decay could have a chance at doing this. They could call it, my names that I have that I could throw out there is Prismatic Punk Palette. It could have some metallics in there, something really fun. It could be called Shattered Spectrum to kind of take the idea. They have their 24/7 eyeliners that are iconic. They can take that kind of spectrum of color and call it Shattered Spectrum, so it has that kind of diffused, multifaceted, iridescent look. The first palette I want to show you is the more calm one. This could be something that would be a bit on trend, where it would have light iridescent shades. It would still be colorful, it would still be fun, but it would be lighter shades that are more on trend with right now, something not too over the top. I have some samples here of some shades. These are by Terra Moon, by the way. They're amazing shadows. But do you see how there's duochromes, multi-chromes shifting in all of these type of pastel colors? If they would do like a 6 to 9 well palette, nothing too large, so it's still very sleek, it's still on brand with what's going on right now, but have these pastel shades and all of these kind of reflective duochrome, multi-chrome, it would be so beautiful, and no mainstream brand is really doing this. Or they could do like this image, which is a little bit larger palette, a 12-pound palette that has several duochromes and brighter type reflective finishes. Maybe it has a few mattes in there as well to make it a complete palette. But then the packaging, do you see the packaging is really cool? That's what Urban Decay needs to get back to, is that really fun, innovative, cool packaging, plus some bomb shadows inside. Like, can you imagine if it was bolder colors like this, you all? Look at that. These are also Terra Moon, by the way. But do you see how they're intensely pigmented? You had these in a really cool palette. Throw a few mattes in there to make it very wearable. I think it would do really, really well. Here's a larger picture of the palette if they wanted to do something really large, which I don't think would do well now. I think people want still the kind of smaller curated palettes with very specific colors in there. And then to keep on with the multi-chrome type of theme, the Prismatic Punk or the Shattered Spectrum, you would have a multi-chrome mascara. I wish I had the sample, you guys. I met with a lab last year and they had this topper. It was a mascara topper and it was a multi multi-chrome topper that you could put on top of your mascara and it would make it reflect in different colors. It was the coolest thing ever. In my mind, wow, this is perfect for Urban Decay. Why aren't they picking this up? So the image I have here would be this really cool iridescent packaging for the mascara, and inside would be a multi-chrome topper that would make your lashes reflect different colors. Wouldn't that be cool? I've not seen anyone do that yet. And then because they have their iconic 24/7 eyeliners, have a range of multi-chrome eyeliners as well. I was looking for samples in my stockpile back here of lab formulas. I couldn't find anything, but a creamy eyeliner in all these different multi-chrome shades where it transforms from like green to blue or pink to orange, and it would reflect in different colors. They were that nice, beautiful, creamy formula that Urban Decay is known for. They would do that as part of this collection. I would buy every single color. And then maybe for the lips, because that's how they started with the lips and nail polishes, maybe they have a couple nail polishes they bring in that are a multi-chrome finish. Or even for the lips, if they didn't want to do a multi-chrome lipstick or a reflective, something like that. I have this lab sample here. Look how cool this is. So to keep on trend with that kind of lip balm formula, kind of natural, but still have it be fun, look at this, you guys. It's like kind of blue, but it has the texture. If Urban Decay did something like this, and it was just a nice hydrating lip balm, but it looks really cool and edgy because it's blue, it's got all that texture on there, I think it would sell really well. Like, I would buy this. So my advice to Urban Decay, if anyone from the brand is watching, get back to those edgy type of roots, get that cool packaging for your eyeshadow palettes, have some multi-chromes, unique textures and finishes, bring in some eyeliners that we all love in lots of cool shades and finishes, and then maybe throw in a couple nail polishes because that's where you start. I think Urban Decay just needs to get back to their roots and stop regurgitating that whole Naked series collection. Now, does Urban Decay still have some bestsellers to this day? Absolutely. There are some people who still love and live by those Naked palettes. Some of you, I know some of you still have that original Naked palette in your collection. I'm not judging. I still have a Naked palette too because it was so iconic at the time, and it is a great palette. It's a great neutral. Everyone wears neutrals every day, so it's a good staple to have in your collection. Urban Decay also has their primer potion, which sells really well. They have their all-nighter setting spray, which people love. They consistently buy. And then I feel like their new foundation, the Base Bond foundation, is really incredible. It had more innovative packaging. So I feel like that was a really good launch. So are there some things that Urban Decay sells that people still love? Absolutely. Is it at the iconic peak that it was many years ago? No, I feel like it really has fallen off since that peak in the early 2010s. Urban Decay's story really is a fascinating one of a rise and fall. It had innovation, and then I feel like it went through an identity crisis, kind of lost its vision along the way. What do you guys think? Do you agree with me on that? Can Urban Decay come back and reclaim its throne as the queen of the makeup space? Or is it destined to just be that nostalgic makeup memory for us makeup lovers who remember that iconic time so many years ago? Let me know in the comments below what you think, and if you agree with the collections that I put together. Do you think it should be the direction that Urban Decay should go? Or what are some things that you think that they should launch that would make them come back in an amazing way? Hopefully this series is really enjoyable for you all, because I'll do several of these for other brands. Let me know what other brands you would like me to do next. So have a great one, you guys. I'll see you next week for another makeup video.